Bridgerton is set in London's Regency era, during the period from 1811 to 1820, when Prince George acted as regent. The series reimagines this world through modern music and diverse casting, but the underlying social structure is based on real historical systems. High society, known as the Ton, operated within a defined social calendar called the season. To understand Bridgerton, it helps to understand how that system actually worked. Back then, the London season structured elite social life around a defined calendar. Each year, when Parliament met, aristocratic families gathered in London for several months of formal events. These months created a concentrated period of visibility, introductions, and social exchange among families of similar rank. The season brought together members of the peerage, landed gentry, and wealthy households who already belonged to recognized social circles. Access was moved through invitation and established connections. Families appeared in the same drawing rooms, attended the same assemblies, and participated in the same public occasions. This repetition created familiarity and reinforced hierarchy within a contained environment. Balls, evening assemblies, private dinners, and visits formed the core of this system. These gatherings provided structured opportunities for young people to meet under supervision. Dances were organized according to familiar steps and sequences, and introductions usually passed through a host or family member. Repeated appearances at these gatherings allowed individuals to become known within the circle and gradually build recognition among other families. For unmarried young women, the season marked a formal entry into adult society. A debut signaled readiness to participate in courtship. Presentation at court, or acknowledgement within the social circle, confirmed eligibility. From that point forward, a debutante's presence at events carried public meaning. Her conduct, appearance, and interactions were observed by families considering potential alliances. Families approached the season as a time for careful evaluation. Marriage carried long-term consequences, so decisions were guided by established social expectations. A family's background, financial position, and inherited responsibilities shaped how a potential match was viewed. Titles and estates reflected place within the hierarchy, while financial arrangements formed part of the discussion between households. Young men also entered the season with established family backgrounds that shaped perception. A title, military career, or inherited estate positioned them within a clear social tier. Their presence at events signaled availability for marriage within that circle. Because the same families attended the same venues throughout the season, interactions took place within a relatively stable social circle. Introductions happened through established connections, and information about individuals circulated easily within that network. Letters exchanged during courtship could also influence a person's reputation if their contents became known. As a result, behavior in social settings influenced not only individual prospects, but also the standing of the wider family. The season, therefore, functioned as a structured environment for arranging marriages among the elite. It organized who met, how they met, and under what supervision. It concentrated opportunity within a limited time frame each year. This structure appears clearly in Bridgerton when debutantes are presented to Queen Charlotte at the start of the season. After this formal presentation, they begin attending a sequence of balls where families observe and evaluate potential matches. For women, entering the marriage market during the Regency era meant stepping into a legal and economic system that would significantly shape their future. Marriage was not only a social milestone, it altered property rights, financial control, and daily authority within the household. Before marriage, an unmarried woman's legal identity remained connected to her father or guardian. After the wedding, a woman's legal and social position shifted significantly. Under the doctrine of coverture, her legal identity merged with that of her husband. Property she owned generally came under his control unless safeguarded through settlement terms. She adopted his surname and, if applicable, his title. Her place within the hierarchy now reflected his rank rather than her father's. Economic security, therefore, depended heavily on the outcome of a match. Opportunities for independent income among upper-class women were limited. Employment in trade or business existed, but often carried a lower social status. Marriage offered stability within the accepted structure of elite society, particularly for women without substantial independent wealth. Social position also shifted after marriage. A woman moved from her father's household into her husband's. She adopted his rank, title, and responsibilities. If he held an estate, she oversaw domestic management and supervised staff. If he served in politics or the military, her role supported that public position. Marriage defined her place within the broader social hierarchy. These realities shaped how debutantes approached courtship. Decisions carried long-term consequences that extended beyond personal preference. Family discussions often included financial projections, inheritance considerations, and compatibility of estates. Marriage created legal bonds between households, not only between individuals. Take Marina Thompson's storyline, for example. When her pregnancy becomes known, her options narrow rapidly. The urgency to secure a husband is presented as a matter of protection and stability rather than romance. Her situation demonstrates how reputation, legal structure, and economic dependence intersect. Without marriage, her position within society became uncertain. The experience of debutantes involved more than attending events or meeting suitors. It meant navigating a framework where marriage determined financial security, legal authority, and long-term residence. The decision shaped daily life, inheritance patterns, and social standing within the ton. For women of the Regency era, entry into the season marked the beginning of participation in that framework. The outcome influenced not only personal circumstances, but also property arrangements and the continuation of family lines. Marriage operated as a central institution within elite society, and debutantes entered it with awareness of its structural weight. Courtship during the Regency era operated within clearly defined social boundaries. These expectations shaped how men and women interacted in public and determined how relationships progressed. The process unfolded gradually and required visible adherence to established codes of conduct. A formal introduction was the first step. A gentleman could not simply approach a young woman at a ball or gathering without being introduced by a host or mutual acquaintance. This practice ensured that interactions occurred within recognized social networks. Introductions confirmed family background and social standing before the conversation began. In Bridgerton, this is visible at nearly every ball, where young women are introduced by name and family before dancing. Dancing itself followed social meaning. Public balls provided one of the few acceptable settings for sustained interaction between unmarried men and women. However, dances were structured, and the number of times a couple partnered together mattered. Repeated dances with the same person during a single evening signaled particular interest. Excessive exclusivity could prompt speculation about an attachment. In the first season of Bridgerton, when Daphne Bridgerton dances repeatedly with Simon Bassett at early events, other members of the ton begin to interpret this pattern as a developing match. But even then, private meetings were carefully restricted. An unmarried woman was generally expected to be accompanied by a chaperone, often her mother or another female relative. Supervision protected both reputation and family standing. The presence of a chaperone created accountability and reduced the possibility of misunderstanding. Time spent alone with a man could invite suspicion, even if nothing improper occurred. In Bridgerton, moments when characters find themselves alone, such as Anthony Bridgerton and Kate Sharma during their encounters outside formal supervision, immediately create tension because they depart from expected norms. Correspondence formed another layer of regulated interaction. Letters allowed couples to express interest and discuss shared concerns, particularly when direct meetings were limited. However, written communication carried risk. Letters created tangible evidence of attachment. If revealed or intercepted, they could affect a person's standing. In historical practice, families sometimes expected the return or destruction of letters when a courtship ended. Next, public behavior remained central throughout courtship. Familiar gestures, informal address, or visible physical closeness attracted attention. Titles and surnames were used to maintain formality. Even minor deviations from etiquette could generate discussion. The Regency social world depended on observation and shared commentary. Individuals understood that conduct at balls, promenades, or dinner visits would be discussed afterward in private drawing rooms. The consequences of a damaged reputation were substantial. Marriage prospects depended on maintaining an image aligned with accepted standards. If conduct suggested impropriety, families might withdraw interest. Supervision, regulation, and visibility therefore defined courtship during the Regency period. Relationships developed within environments structured by etiquette and collective awareness. Families monitored progress, and social approval shaped advancement toward engagement. Courtship did not operate as a private exchange between two individuals. It unfolded within a community that observed, interpreted, and responded. These rules provided predictability within elite society. They outlined acceptable conduct and created shared expectations about progression from introduction to engagement. Courtship required patience, consistency, and adherence to custom. In both historical record and its portrayal in Bridgerton, the process demonstrates how personal relationships developed within a broader framework of social order. So what happened once a proposal was accepted? An engagement marked the transition from courtship to formal negotiation. While a proposal could be initiated privately, the agreement that followed involved both families. Marriage required legal preparation and financial planning. One of the central steps in this process was the marriage settlement. This was a legal document that outlined the financial terms of the union. It specified the dowry brought by the bride, any property involved, and the arrangements for inheritance. In some cases, settlements also included provisions meant to secure a woman's financial support if she were widowed. These agreements were negotiated between families and finalized before the wedding took place. The settlement protected property within bloodlines, clarified expectations about income, and reduced disputes after marriage. For aristocratic families with estates or titles, these contracts carried particular importance. Landed property often passed through male heirs, and marriage arrangements were designed to preserve that structure. In the second season of Bridgerton, Anthony's engagement to Edwina Sharma is presented as a socially appropriate and strategically considered match. His decision is framed around duty, rank, and family expectations rather than romantic attachment. And once financial terms were arranged, legal formalities followed. Under the Marriage Act of 1753, weddings in England required the publication of bans on 3 consecutive Sundays or the purchase of a special license. This regulation aimed to prevent secret or irregular unions. Ceremonies took place in a church and were typically attended by close family members. Large public celebrations were not always the norm among the elite. Daily life also changed. A married woman moved into her husband's household. If he held an estate, she oversaw domestic management, supervised servants, and organized social functions. Remember when Daphne married Simon Bassett? After the ceremony, she relocates to Cliveden and assumes the responsibilities of a duchess. Another central expectation within marriage concerned heirs. Aristocratic titles and entailed estates typically passed through male lines. Producing legitimate children secured inheritance and preserved continuity. This expectation influenced both family negotiations and marital life. The stability of property and rank depended on succession. Divorce during the Regency era remained rare and legally complex. For the aristocracy, obtaining a full divorce required a private act of parliament. Social consequences accompanied separation, particularly for women. Marriage was understood as a long-term institution supported by legal, financial, and social structures that encouraged permanence. When viewed as a whole, marriage during the Regency era functioned as a central organizing force within elite society. It shaped financial security, family continuity, and social rank. Bridgerton dramatizes personal relationships, yet the structure surrounding those relationships remains rooted in the legal and social framework of the time.